Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show. I enjoyed visiting with my friend Clay Williams. He's such a terrific leader at the Gulfport Biloxi International Airport Authority. His board is terrific. They support him and this community so well. It's great to see they're up compared to last year, and they continue to increase the offerings. And as he pointed out, they're always focused on ways to enhance our experience at the airport so that we can pick the local airport, as opposed to driving over to New Orleans or driving to Mobile. I think when you consider all the costs associated with those decisions, unless, of course, you can't get to where you want to get, that the Gulfport Biloxi Airport is a really good choice, and I think he articulated that very nicely. You listen, one of the things I like about doing the show is the opportunity to talk about the nonprofit community in coastal Mississippi, and we can't have enough people working in the nonprofit sector. It could be for any wide variety of needs. I mean, every community's got needs. We have our share of needs. And so I always go out of my way to touch individuals who are leading and organizations who are leading to fill gaps. And one of the ones that I talk about pretty regularly here, thanks to friends of mine who kind of keep it on my radar screen, is the Mississippi Gulf Coast community. Their focus on the Gulf Coast Community Ministries. It's a wonderful 501(c) here that was actually started by First Baptist Church back in June of 2013. And they have a food pantry. They find clothing for the homeless and free medical clinics for uninsured adults. And my friend Jamie Bates, who's the chairman of the board there, and someone who I respect greatly, I love to spend time with him, is my next guest. And I want to invite Jamie into the conversation. We'll talk in just a minute about the 20th anniversary celebration that's coming up for Gulf Coast Ministries, but we'll also just catch up with Jamie in general. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Ricky. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you have a professional photography business. You have your barbecue business that continues to thrive. During the pandemic, you found ways to be innovative and sort of reinvent yourself. You're heavily involved in Gulf Coast Ministries, but then you're also involved in relief efforts as it relates to cooking for first responders and whatever. There's no boredom in your life, is there?
I don't like idle time. I'd like to stay busy. I like to be responsive to what I feel like God has put before me.
I think that's a wonderful way to say it. How's your photography business doing these days?
Photo's really good. It's a little more focused on corporate needs and events and weddings, and then Mardi Gras is a huge component of what I do for photography with Gulf Coast Carnival Association, Billikens, Athena. I've got several that I'm working with this year, and looking forward to another great year of that.
Yeah, I had a great visit, incidentally, within the past 3 months with Tim Isbell, and it was fun catching up with Tim. But he continues to do a lot of good photography. You worked with some really amazing photographers when you were at the Sun Herald, didn't you?
Incredible staff. There were 6 of us total at one time, and back when I started in 1999, we sometimes had the blessing of double truck spreads of picture stories. We had the opportunity to share stories that were not only important to the community, but important to us as photographers. So we felt like we were contributing in a creative and important way. Yeah, those.
I'm sorry. Finish your last point.
Yeah, just great years with a great staff. A lot of shooters with a lot of different skill sets and specialties, and I miss working with them.
Yeah, so do I. Hey, listen, one of my first major projects as an operations director at the Sun Herald, and I was in my late 20s, is Roland had me oversee the installation of our new press there. We went from a letterpress to an offset press. And we bought a color separating machine and did all the it was at the time $250,000, major capital investment. And Roland had talked to his friend down in Alexandria, and he said we ought to really ease into doing color. And I told Roland, I said, we're not going to ease into it, man. We're gonna, for day one, we're gonna roll with color, and we're gonna have color every day, and we're gonna do amazing. He said, well, look, I'll take your lead, man, but just, get this right. And we never looked back, but the new presses gave us an opportunity to really showcase the incredible photography that was taking place at the Sun Herald. And I wonder, looking back, I wonder if there was a collection of award-winning photographers at a newspaper our size, like at the Sun Herald, anywhere else in the United States. I'm sure there probably might have been, but man, we were lucky, weren't we?
We were lucky to be recognized, but the bigger blessing is that nobody on staff had an attitude. We all really loved doing our jobs. Every day was a new challenge to go out and tell the stories of South Mississippians, and it was an honor.
And then of course when Katrina hit, the incredible responsibility and obligation as journalists to capture that, and you guys did in so many dynamic, amazing ways. Led to bestseller books, and I mean, you name it. But there's been some high points and low points, but even in the low points, we found a way to practice incredible journalism, didn't we?
We did. There were 18, 20, 22-hour days in those first couple of months consistently. I remember I got power back about 5.5 weeks after the storm, maybe 6. And I still hadn't emptied my refrigerator because I didn't have time from all the work we were doing at the paper. But I think, besides telling those stories and capturing those moments and just trying to communicate the devastation to the world so that we could get help and assistance and recover, one of the greatest things was the ability to hand out newspapers for free that y'all gave us as staffers as we would go out into the community.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed doing that myself. I would go to various locations where people were beginning to come together, temporary housing places, et cetera. I enjoyed doing that. I would take bundles every day and just hand them out in the neighborhood and hand them out in areas I could get to. And it was a great way to touch people and say, we're going to get through this. Great experience. Jamie, you have a servant's heart. You took that you took that into your work as a photojournalist. You take that into your work in the community. We've talked about all the work that you do in the homeless community, the work that you do with food pantries and whatever. I'm thrilled to see today that you're the chairman of the board for Mississippi Gulf Coast Community Ministries. And it's a 501(c)(3) here, as I mentioned, started back in 2003 by First Baptist Church, but there are multiple churches that are involved in it today. But to be able to be in a position to celebrate the 20th anniversary, it's a pretty cool thing, isn't it?
It's an honor. 20 years. I'm honored to be able to volunteer with the ministry. I've been on the board since 2010. We have a great board, incredible volunteers. We have a new executive director that we've welcomed about 6 weeks ago, Mr. Jeremy Merritt. So we're excited for the future of the ministry. But as we reflect on 20 years of service to our Gulfport and Harrison County communities, we're just thankful for the people who support us and for the opportunity to serve.
Well, when you talk, when I talk about filling gaps and the need for nonprofit community, you can't have enough because there are lots of gaps to be filled. When you look at the need, whether it be in the homeless community or whether it be the work that you do through uninsured adults in the medical care areas, or whether it might be the food pantries, when you go and see the work that you're doing and the people that you're touching, it lights a fire, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As I mentioned when we first started this, it's always been my goal to be responsive to what God puts before me. And we have people who come to the ministry every time we're open, every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 11:30. People can come and receive food from our pantry for free. Homeless individuals can come and receive items and clothing for free. And the need is tremendous. We had the honor of being open every single regular day of our service through the pandemic. We didn't have to close once. We found ways, because of our volunteers and our director at the time, Mike Wilson, they found ways to remain open and to continue to serve the community. And so when the need's there, we want to do our best to be ready and able to serve.
The issue with the homeless community hasn't gotten better, and excuse me, if anything, the inflationary pressures that are on families, on people just in general, have really made the need to focus on that arena more significant, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We continue to have homeless individuals who are in our community. There's word that some cities are actually giving people bus tickets to come to our community to move them out of their communities. And so that shifting has been going on for decades. It's not new. But it presents challenges because you have new people who come in that aren't familiar with services. You have our organizations that are working hard to meet needs, and they're meeting new people, constantly adjusting and trying to help them. Personally, I don't know that we're going to make a major dent. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, let's do this. We'll pick it up right there on the other side. I didn't realize we were getting to the end of this segment, but this is Jamie Bates, a consummate volunteer in coastal Mississippi. He's the chairman of the board for the Gulf Coast Community Ministries. When we come back, we'll let him finish his thought about that, and then we'll talk about the festivities around the 20th anniversary celebration. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show. We have my friend Jamie Bates, a dear friend, someone who I referred to as having a servant's heart. The amount of energy he puts into volunteering his time to help those in need is very inspiring. And he's the chairman of the board these days of the Gulf Coast Community Ministries that does a lot of really good work here in coastal Mississippi. When we went to break, we're talking about the inflationary pressures and the homeless community, and I kind of interrupted you in the midst of your thought, Jamie. But you want to finish? You want to close your thought on that?
Yeah, just in regards to our homeless community, it's always changing, and I think we've got to do more to support mental health in our communities, to fight drug addictions. Those are the primary reasons that people are homeless. There are veterans. It's easy to stereotype the community, but many of them have their own individualized stories and reasons as to why they're there. And we want to do our best to try to make sure that they're safe and they're warm, hopefully that they're hydrated. So we have an outreach van and volunteers that go out into the community to try to meet them on the streets. And we want to be open-minded to think about new ways to try to contribute in positive ways to helping end homelessness, at least for individuals who are ready to receive that assistance.
And centers, there could be economic strain, as you pointed out. Oftentimes, drug or alcohol abuse are related. It could be just someone's down and out. It could be simply that there's mental illness there that is not being properly addressed. But as a nation, I think we're struggling with this subject, and we've got to. Along with so many other problems we've got to address, this is one major. If we were as a nation come to grips around the issue of mental health and just specifically, then I think we could advance the ball in a very big way, couldn't we?
I do believe so. I believe it's become taboo to institutionalize people who can't care for themselves, but instead we've seemed to make it okay to put them on the streets to fend for themselves. And I just don't think that's fair to them or our communities.
It's really unfortunate. Okay, so tomorrow is the big celebration. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so we're going to have a big cake. We're going to have a few things to eat, but mostly we just want to have an opportunity for people in the community who've supported us in the past, who may be interested to look into new ways to support our community, to come and visit our campus. We're at 3916 15th Street in Gulfport, across from West Elementary, which is near Milner Stadium. And our services will be operating that morning from 9 to 11:30. We've got the free clinic operating, the food pantry, clothes closet. And then right after that at 12:30, we're going to cut a cake and just celebrate 20 years and introduce people to our new director, Jeremy Merritt.
Tell me about Jeremy.
I'm really getting to know Jeremy. I didn't know him before he applied. He's a great guy who's hit the ground running. Jeremy spent over 10 years with CPS, just helping kids in trouble in our community. And for anybody who could stay in that job for over 10 years, I have a lot of respect for. So we're excited have Jeremy with us, and we're looking forward to the future with him. He's a great guy.
You're probably standing by as it relates to your disaster relief efforts, but they upped the hurricane predictions. I was looking at models this morning, and looks like something could form in the next week or so. I still think we're going to have even though we have. Supposed to be some climatology that would depress them. We have really, really high heat content in the ocean now, in the sea temperatures, and this could be a busy season. But you guys are ready to go at any moment, aren't you?
Yeah, my primary focus personally, and my buddy Marcio Borgazon here locally, we're supporting the Giving Back Foundation primarily these days, and we recently purchased a mobile cooler to help just add to our resources with equipment. Doing our best to be ready to go. And our goal is to be feeding within 24 to 48 hours of an event.
It's incredible that you guys have been able to keep that goal going for so many years, Jamie. How do you do it?
God blesses us with the ability, the resources, and the equipment we need. The two large rotisserie smokers that I personally own, I purchased so that we could do disaster relief better and in bigger ways. Right before the pandemic started, that's really what helped me get started with Daddy's Barbecue in March of 2020. But it's those cookers are on mobile trailers ready to go where needed. And we just have a heart to serve, and we are blessed to be self-employed, so we can help move our schedule often and go when needed. And it's just, there's a lot of hard work that goes on in building volunteers and resources ahead of time, so that we have what we need to go and serve 40, 50, 60,000 meals within a few days fast.
Hey, listen, I had a guest on my show, my outdoor shows, SuperTalk Outdoors. I'll make this quick. Glenn Jackson, he's from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And I asked him where he was from, and he was actually from the lower Delta. And I didn't realize that 10 of his family's homes were destroyed. No one was injured, thank God. But he talked about how people came together and what he saw in the hearts and minds of Mississippians. It's just incredible how we come to each other's aids. But keep up the great work. Good luck with your 20th anniversary. It's great to touch base with you. We need to get you back on more often, Jamie, but it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Ricky. Thank you, Kyle.
You bet. This has been Jamie Banks, my dear friend. And anyway, it's been great to catch up. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.